Hey everybody, Doa here from Ice Cave Radio for another edition of Conquer the Cave. And guess what? As you can see, we have a very special guest caster. Charmer's off on like this thing I've heard called a vacation. I don't know. Well, actually, I'm going on vacation tomorrow, so I can't pretend like I don't know what a vacation is. I just don't take a lot. And so I thought it'd be great to be joined by someone who also does not take a lot of vacations. None other than Xander Tabler from Fantasy Flight Games. Community Manager is your official title now, correct?
It is.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. This summer? Yeah, I think something like
Yeah.
that. I think we chatted right around when it changed.
It was right after I interviewed you where we specifically were like, no, it's this other title. And then before the interview came out, your title changed, but that's okay. It was still a great interview. But thanks a lot so much for joining me. Set 3 is about to come out like next week is pre-release stuff. So how are things going from your end? It's got to be a little bit busy over there right now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's been really great seeing the reaction from the community. I think there's a lot to love in set 3, especially if somebody, for like someone my age, I know people that, grew up with the prequels. There's a ton to love in there, but even if you didn't, there's a ton of great, deeper cuts, I think, within the Clone Wars as a series that kind of make it to fruition. And, as of today or as of yesterday, every single card had been previewed.
Yeah.
For the entire set. So it's been cool seeing people, finally get to see what the whole puzzle looks like. And start going back and looking at some of these newest leaders and be like, okay, what can I build now that I have this idea, this leader in my head? Which is always my favorite part of preview season. And then, we've got 2 weeks before release and a little over a week to pre-release. And so I'm just really excited, honestly, to get my cards and start opening up and going to weeklies, but also to see what everybody can come up with.
I feel that. I just opening that pre-release box, I was like, man, now I've got all these decks I actually want to build. But so we'll get to the Conquer the Cave games in a second. I have to ask you one more thing then. What leader are you going to build first?
So during playtesting and playing a little bit here in my home, like I think new Gunray feels like the right call for me.
Okay.
I just love exploiting.
Yeah.
It's one I really enjoyed playtesting, and now that I've gone back and started looking at all the cards again, I'm like, oh my gosh, it has to be new. But I do have a special place in my heart for Count Dooku, who's one of my favorite characters in the whole series. But also, I mean, yeah, like what a interesting character. And so I was like, I think I'll end up building him as well. At some point, we'll see which one wins out for my heart. I'm always, a big fan of Vigilance as a whole. So the new money's on Newt right now, but I think there's a lot of really great leaders like Mace Windu that I'm interested in, playing around with and finding out what happens. Set 2, I did not go in saying, hey, I'm going to play set 1 Han as like my main deck. And
hey,
like,
that really feels personal. I think that feels like a personal attack here.
Oh no, I mean I eventually did that. It was like
okay.
right before launch or like right after launch, I was like, oh my gosh, this deck is awesome. This is such a cool idea. I need to go do this. And it kind of became my pet deck for the set. And so I always go in with this grand master plan of like, this is what I want to build and tweak and figure out for the set. But I'm sure there's gonna be a leader that sneaks up on me. I'll go, oh no, that's who I need to figure out right now.
Yeah, I thought I was going to play Cad Bane for all set 2, and then I ended up opening the showcase of Boba Fett. I started building around that, and I'm like, oh, this guy's actually really, really fun to build around. The +1 attack can be so versatile and all that. So I played him way more than I should have, but I eventually did go back to a Han 1 list, too, for the store showdowns. I played, like, this casino list, so I feel that, too. But set 3, I feel like I need to build something with the reveal card we had, Clone Commander Cody, so I'm actually thinking Padme, honestly. Because the search effect, I think, is very underestimated. So I've been doing some builds. I've got a Padme Cunning list, actually, that I feel like is fairly strong. So, yeah, I know. It's getting spicy right out of the gate. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Padme is so interesting. Yeah, I agree. I think the search effect, people really underestimate because, you're drawing 2 cards per turn. Finding cards is never that hard, but just having 1 extra card for 1 resource. And most of the deck you want to build is Republic anyway. So digging 3 down, you're likely to hit almost every time unless you're building maybe incorrectly around Padme. And so I really am excited to see Padme and who else? Rex, Captain Rex. There are going to be some really cool leaders in this set for very different reasons, but they really build into those synergies, which would be cool.
Also Palpatine. I got to build a Palpatine deck too. He looks too interesting. I've been experimenting with it a little bit. I've been like doing some, brews online and stuff like that, trying to just put some lists together and then think about how they might perform. But once I get the paper cards, then I can like actually get in there and start playing some games. That'll be good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think he's the leader. I've seen the most people go, I gotta figure him out. They're not like he's gonna be my main,
Yeah.
but I need to build him myself and see if I can do something. And I think that's probably who I'm most excited to see at locals. The first 2-3 weeks after
Same.
release is like who's figured out Palpatine the quickest and what aspect are people building with the base because I think you have a lot of freedom there, and so it'll be
I
interesting to see what
I've
people do.
seen some people try it and like give up already, and I'm like, oh, good. That'll just make me more unique, and then I'll be able to show them. I'll be able to show them you can take over the galaxy with Palpatine. But anyway, enough about set three. We still have a little bit of set two yet to enjoy here on Conquer the Cave, at least. So let's jump right into our two players. We've got our returning champion, Tbird, and this time he's switching things up a little bit. In the past, he was playing a lot of Luke Command. Which, great set one deck. I think still very good in the meta. And he's on a 2 week winning streak actually coming into this. So this would
Wow.
be huge if he can go 3 weeks in a row. That would be the longest streak in, Conquer the Cave history, in our short history. This is only the fifth episode, but still. But he swapped it up. He's going for Han2 green. And this, to me, Xander, looks like sort of a take on a list that a lot of people are running in set two, which is very, very strong. You play big stuff fast.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great build. It's just outpacing your opponent. You don't need that HP if they're having on when played effects and things like that with Wrecker and other people where you don't really have to worry about them sticking around too long. Or
Mhm.
especially with command, you have plenty of guys with plenty of HP as well. So I think it's a really cool list. I think that's why you see a lot of this Han Solo specifically with Vigilance too. But I think command has some really cool things you can do if you're willing to go in the ramp direction, take a couple hits early, and then start playing your stuff way ahead of where your opponent can get even close to.
Yeah, and there's some things about this list that I think are really interesting too, compared to like just a little tweaks from the average, where we see three crate dragons on the top end, and usually it's like two and then one in the sideboard. I've always been like, just put three in the main deck. You want to see it every single game, so give yourself the best chance to do it. It's Han 2, you're gonna get a chance to play it. So I like that there's three in the main deck. The three choose sides in the sideboard is really interesting to me. I wonder if we're gonna see that because this is the kind of deck where you're already kind of playing some overvalued units. I guess it can
Mhm.
sort of give a little bit of extra value to the small stuff you draw late game if you run into sort of the command matchup. But I don't know. I'm a little bit suspect about this. We'll see if it comes into play today. What do you think? Three choose sides in the sideboard. That seems like a lot, but I'm curious about your opinion on that.
That's actually exactly what I thought as well. It's an interesting one. I love seeing choose sides show up anywhere. To be fair, so on my side, I'm like, this is great. This is maybe not the deck that I would run with, but I think that's a great point. Is maybe you run into a bunch of A wings and Ketsus and things later in the game, and they
Hmm.
or one of them is stuck around because you ramped hard enough that they've had other problems to deal with. One of them just happens to be there still.
That's a good point.
Maybe you have that option to go across. But I think I'm intrigued. I hope that they do get a chance to play because I'd like to see what it can do here. I'm really excited to see Cassian Andor in this list. I think he's one of the best cards in set two.
Oh, for sure.
Being able to bring him out ready is such a threat at all times. And one of my favorite cards that I don't think gets played nearly enough is the Architans over there at two of. Just an awesome card. Ambush and putting those people you defeat in as a resource just feels great. And the stat line isn't too bad either.
I think it's a great call out, and I think it's one of those ways to like snag a win where you might not have been winning otherwise. Because if you're losing the ground, you still drop that in the air, and suddenly 7 damage per turn that can catch you up in a hurry. So I was kind of excited to see that as well. But let's see what his opponent is playing. It is going to be Raynous with Sabine Yellow or Sabine Yeller. I hope it doesn't end up like Old Yeller, but we'll see if Sabine Yeller can take it on. And honestly, like you know this about me, Sabine Cunning was a special deck for me in set one. Like it's a deck I brewed all set long. I played it like 80% of my games. I love Cunning lists. I never really went back to it in set two though. I felt like I'd kind of played it as much as I had wanted to. I wanted to move on to something new, but here we have it coming back, and I feel like Sabine Cunning has been very underestimated in set two. Obviously, Wrecker and Poe are fantastic with ECL, and that's what kind of put everybody on Sabine Green this last set. But I do feel like Sabine Cunning was grossly underestimated overall in the set two meta. What do you think about that, and what do you think about this list?
Yeah, I agree. I think Energy Conversion Lab has such a like stigma around it, but maybe that's a little bit of a negative look at it. But I don't think it's truly negative. It's just something that people look at and see the inherent value immediately of,
Hmm.
okay, I send in this 6 drop and they get maybe their on attack ability immediately, like somebody like Poe. Uh, I do think, however, that Sabine Cunning is one of my favorite builds across it. It's actually one of the decks that I still have built with me. This deck specifically running, the whole Rebel suite is
Hmm.
great because then you can get some value out of things like Fleet Lieutenant. And I think, Wrecker and Poe on the top end makes complete sense. I think Wrecker and Sabine is one of like the bread and butter cards that we'll never see separated from her because at some point you don't really need resources with Sabine. You're not still reaching for that leader.
Hmm.
She's on the field or has already been defeated long before Wrecker's jumping out there. And so I it's great to see that. I for these sideboard cards, Fang Fighter being a one of is interesting. I
Yeah.
feel like if I'm going to put a Fang Fighter, and I usually want 2 or 3 because I'm running into maybe like a super heavy upgrade deck, or potentially like a Sabine with Dark Saber, or maybe even like a Kylo Ren deck. If we're playing in the office, I know Joe and Neil's running a Kylo Ren deck with lightsabers, and so I really like Fang Fighter, but I'm intrigued what maybe the reasoning was with just one of. But the rest
Hmm.
of the cards, it looks like a perfect, Sabine yellow deck, which is one of my favorites, and it honestly looks very close to what I'm running currently. So I'm like, this is great.
Okay. It's got some real old school touches in it, like the choppers especially. I ran chopper for a long time in my Sabine Cunning, and I eventually cut it because it just doesn't trade very well with a lot of early game stuff, but I still really enjoyed when it got in there, messed with the resource. And the thing is, I feel like it kind of ended up being a good like mini meta call here because Chopper potentially exhausting a resource before our Han2 player can use it can really mess up the flow for that deck. Sure, Han gives you a little discount, but you usually need all of your resources to play that one thing you want to play each turn. So I'm very curious to see if that chopper is going to come in handy here. And for those of you who haven't watched in the past, the players don't see each other's deck lists too. And Tbird was playing only Luke up until now, so that means Raynous just runs chopper in this list. It just so happens that it might end up being huge in this matchup. So I'm really curious to see how that all is going to go. But I'm ready to get into the games. How about you?
Yeah, the only other one I wanted to point out was
Oh yeah, go for it.
R2D2 being a one drop was really interesting to me as
Yeah.
well. I was wondering, did the Raynous feel like, hey, maybe there wasn't enough turn one plays? I mean, there's still plenty in there, but I'm intrigued by the R2D2 as just a one of what maybe they're trying to look for throughout the whole thing, because I'm not seeing maybe any other things that care really about just the top card of the deck
Well,
without a C3 here.
it's funny because that is another I feel like indication of this deck being very old school Sabine Yellow influence, because that was something like the single R2D2, that was something that you saw pop up in the very last like polished versions of the list that you saw at tournaments at the end of set one. I even put like
Yeah.
one R2D2 in my list too, and it's kind of nice. Like if you draw it, you're like, okay, maybe this is a game where I do need to take a peek at that top card to maybe set up my next turn a little bit better. It's kind of hand insurance a little bit, and you can resource it otherwise. I felt like we didn't need it in set two, but I'm not surprised to see someone still give it a try here. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a nice solid drop that's annoying to get rid of. It's one of those like
Yeah.
4 extra health on your base things because your opponent just has to deal with it. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
it could work out. But yeah,
That'd be
let's jump into the games then. All right.
Let's do it.
And so here we are right at the dice roll. You can see everything fine, right? Just double
Oh
check.
yeah, we're good here. Yep.
Perfect. All right. So on the left, we have our reigning champion. You can tell because there's a crown on the head of his leader. It's Han2 playing for Tbird, got command in their ECL. And then on the right, we have our challenger, Raynous, with a heroism, aggression, cunning with set one Sabine. So a set two versus set one matchup for the most part. I believe the dice roll was won by Raynous. I don't watch these games when I edit these VODs together for casting over, but I do watch just far enough to sync up the audio. So I remember Raynous saying that he won the dice roll. So we've got that to look forward to. In this matchup, it's going to be interesting. I feel like Han can get run over if he doesn't hit what he needs to hit every turn. What do you think?
Oh, I agree. I think we talked a little bit about, Han Solo maybe having that chance to play a resupply or other ramp early, but I think Han really needs to focus on controlling that board to start at least and keeping Sabine under control. His
Mhm.
top end is much higher, but being able to get there is going to be the real struggle, I think, for the entire game. If he doesn't, quash the things early on Sabine's side, she might just run away with it.
Yeah, I mean, the risk is always just like being dead before you have a chance to play that Crate Dragon. But I also got a shout out as the Leia comes down here, readying a resource for Raynous. I also got to shout out the Hyperspace ECL too, a rare pickup
Oh,
by some of the players out there. I'm the proud owner of one as well. But look at this. Turn 1 Cassian Andor.
Ooh.
And the thing is, he's basically a Battlefield Marine, right? 2 for a 3/3.
Yeah, he's a perfect one for this list, especially like we said, wanting to control the board. A 3/3 is going to hold on to most of the things that Raynous
Ooh.
can drop over there, even if it was a Battlefield Marine. Ooh, there's the chopper.
I like this. So we're going to see the Sabine activation as well. It looks like Tbird claimed initiative. But now what would
Mhm.
excite me even more is if the first play for Raynous next turn is to play a Sabine and then maybe turn on that Chopper's Raid 1. Obviously, you get the discard when you attack regardless, but getting that little extra damage is nice. I think Tbird's going to have to, he's going to have to attack into it, though. I feel like that Cassian is going to go straight into the Chopper. It's my
Yes, that
prediction.
he has to immediately take it out. The raid one can be a threat, but hey, if you attack it first, you don't have to really worry about it. Maybe if at best you're hoping that
Oh,
Leia then goes back and oh wow, taking out Leia
interesting.
instead.
Interesting. Okay. Because a wing leader, and so here's the danger here, right? Because now that chopper gets
Mhm.
extra big. I'm a little bit surprised because Alea is a 2/2, doesn't really do anything. You can take that out anytime, but this chopper, even before it was buffed, is going to make you discard a deck when the attack happens. And now chopper's going to come in for 3 and to make you discard. And sure, your resources are already spent this turn, but you know, that aside, like that's still going to be more damage. That's now a 3/5 chopper. That's something that Cassian can't deal with. Oh, and he makes him discard a crate dragon too. So
Oh, and
already that chopper
he's
paying
got the quick
dividends.
resource too. So that's that's what we are talking about being a little bit worried about. Yeah, that chopper is big.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be worried about that Leia nearly as much in this deck. I think maybe in a double cunning deck or something where you're scared of it getting bounced back to hand to be replayed and exhaust something big. Maybe more of a worry to me. But yeah, I'm a little nervous now with the chopper being able to take things out.
Wow. I mean that crate dragon hitting the board. I mean, I know T-Bird is our 2-week champion, but that's like some that's some mental damage right there, man. Seeing that crate dragon go, you're like, all right, I've got 2 more in the main board at least. That's good. Looks like an ECL activation coming in there. What is it?
Oh, 5 costs. What we got? There he
Ooh.
is.
All right. Never mind. Chopper's dead. That was not a problem after
Chopper's
all.
gone, and yeah.
Yeah.
So great call on the resupply there. Hoping, yeah, a Poe is like as good of a play as you could hope for, hitting that immediately.
Yeah.
And now 5 resources can bring out Han when he needs to.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like that's the case. So it's going to be 3 damage on Poe. So he didn't do a discard to, remove one of the XP or something like that before attacking in. Just went ahead and did 2 damage to the wing leader and then took out Chopper. So now Raynous is in a little bit of a tough spot. The nice thing for him is that Poe only has 3 HP left. And that Falcon is a nice little annoying drop too.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Falcon's great there. Unfortunately, I mean, in space is great, but right now, a lot to worry about there on the ground, and Sabine can only do 2 damage. So really, I'm wondering where Raynous brings out Sabine and sends her at.
That's right. So we got a total of looks like 9 damage on the base here as Han gets flipped and attacked. In meanwhile, over on Raynous' side, looks
Mhm.
like 12 damage on base. I'm trying
Yeah.
to I'm assume that other red dice is a 1 or
Yeah.
0. Yeah. Well, there's a
Or is that
12
the
a little bit
20?
easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
22,
Hmm.
yeah.
I would
Okay.
imagine.
So Sabine to base. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's not a bad call though, because if I guess if you take out Cassian, you're within range of Poe being able to discard and take out Sabine without taking anything back. So maybe
Hmm.
that's a valid fear there.
I think you've got a point there. And I think Raynous might have just decided to, hey, I need to race at this point. Like, he's only
Yeah.
got 13 HP remaining. Oh, that Marauder, though, slamming into the Millennium
Oh,
Falcon, that is huge. And I mean, that almost feels like the game's on lock. I hate calling it before it's over, but like that is going to be so hard for Sabine to come back from. It looks like he's going
oh,
to be able to attack in, and he's just going base again with the surprise strike. So, yeah, just trying to straight up race right now.
interesting. Yeah, this race, I normally would be, voting for Sabine in a big race, but seeing a Poe out there that can swing for at minimum or at 8 if you're willing to discard a card plus the other 2 out there, this is looking a little dangerous for that.
Yeah, I would be a little bit concerned here. That's for sure. All right, waiting to see. And it looks like, yeah, Han Solo's going to run into Sabine. So just 3 damage done there. And then that's going to let Poe take her out with a discard whenever he attacks a little bit later in
Yeah.
the turn. All right. Looks like 3 more damage onto base here. Oh, and it looks like Raynous is counting down. I see what it is now.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
okay. Oh, he's one of those people that counts down with his life totals. Oh, I see how it is. All right. All right. Sabine gets taken out
Whatever
here
makes
by
it
the
easy
Poe.
for you.
Yeah. So 13 HP remaining on Reynous's side. Meanwhile, it looks like 18 damage has been taken by Tbird.
No units on board. The last 2 resources that were there, I was wondering maybe what they were looking for, or if there was another game plan just needed to get a head start early.
Yeah, hard to say. Looks like though, I mean, man, look at the board for Tbird. Tbird. It's Tbird. It's gonna be tough, I think, for Raynous to come back. I mean, you've got a good amount of damage there, but you know, do you maybe have something like I guess you would need like a sneak attack K2SO to maybe get in with enough damage, because a sneak attack K2SO with the overwhelm, and if he managed to take it out, might be able to just get across the line. There's the wrecker. All right.
Wrecker, okay.
Yeah. So
Units
good.
with another layout.
Yeah. Okay. Gets rid of the Leia from resources. It does take out the Poe. And so
Mhm.
I suppose we do need to keep in mind that there are 13 hit points left on Reynous's base right now. So
Mhm.
that being the case, that is still some life real estate to work with, but it's going to disappear really quick with what Han's got, on the board and coming out this turn.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Marauder in space is going to be a problem unless maybe they can find another Millennium Falcon for the next turn. I mean, if you're Tbird, do you have to go right into Wrecker, or do you just race? Yeah, it looks like just racing.
I think so. Yeah, 3 HP remaining, and Raynous has to just take initiative here, right? I think he
I
would
believe
have already
so.
done that. Because if you do, the thing is, if you do the Sabine activation, then your opponent just takes initiative and they win. So,
Yep.
yeah, but that said, all right. So if it's 18 on base, then that would mean that Raynous would that be exact, I guess? 18 plus 7 is 25, isn't it?
Yep, that'd be 25. So really, that's why I was wondering if you send Han and Cassian into Wrecker and
Yeah.
call it even there and just take the Marauder back to base the next round. You also had all your resources, and you'd make them potentially take the initiative right away to at least play something. So
Yeah.
I'm
I think T-Bird's looking at his resources. He's trying to figure out. There's a timely intervention. Oh, can he timely intervention into Wrecker and take it out somehow? Sundari
Sundari
Peacekeeper.
Peacekeeper.
Oh, that's
Oh, there we go.
restore. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
great. Oh my gosh, what a great card! Sundari Peacekeeper is just terrifying. Every time that card touches the board, I'm scared.
Seriously, right? One of the best cards in set 2 for sure. And I was wondering for a second. I was like, how does he live? And he had that Sundari Peacekeeper in hand, and the timely intervention in resources, able to smuggle that out, stay alive for just another hit or two. And that might just do
Mhm.
it, right? Because now Raynous has to figure out a way to deal with this entire board or heal
Sabine,
somehow.
yeah, it is cunning. So I was gonna say, yep, there we go. Heroic
Oh,
sacrifice.
yep,
Or surprise strike with going cunning is a really nice place to be.
that's right. And Heroic Sacrifice is going to do it. That's going to be Raynous taking game number 1, just getting over the line with the 9 damage from Wrecker. And wow, taking game 1. All right, here we are for game number 2 between Raynous and Tbird. Raynous taking game number 1 just by the skin of his teeth, by 1 card, by a Heroic Sacrifice. Great play at the end of the game by Tbird, though, to smuggle out the timely intervention, to get the Sundari Peacekeeper in with ambush, heal for 2, but man, it was such a nice little save, but it just wasn't enough, was it?
Oh no. Sabine Cunning has reach with surprise strikes, heroic sacrifices. You can throw hot shot DL44s in there. There's just so many different ways to pump up damage if you leave anybody on that board, and it's a dangerous place to be, especially for Han with a 25 health base. ECL did some great work with Poe, but it's tough to always account for where all that damage is going to come from.
Yeah. So we got game 2 going here, and the first play over to Tbird, of course, taking the initiative, being that he lost game number 1. We've got kind of a mirror start to what we had in game 1, where the Cassian Andor, the Leia, this time the Andor goes first. It's going to let Tbird claim the initiative, and it looks like Raynous doesn't have the resource, the 1-drop, to capitalize on that Leia. So a little bit of a rough start already for Raynous, but we've seen the Sabine come back already.
Oh yeah. And yeah, 2-2 is nothing to sneeze at, but it's not really where you want to be when you have a 3-3 staring at you on the other side.
Wow, and there's the Fighters for Freedom. Okay, so Fighters for Freedom is a card that was kind of in and out of a lot of Sabine Cunning lists. A lot of times, if you're running enough Cunning, you're just not going to get the value out of the Fighters for Freedom that much. But Raynous has decided to run, I believe, 2 of them in his list. So and it's still going to be a very annoying card to deal with too. That 4 HP just puts it right over that break point of easy removal. So we'll see if Raynous can keep it alive long enough to kind of capitalize on some of that damage.
Absolutely. And Tbird went back with the another resupply, which I went very well with finding a Poe. So hopefully they have a 5-cost Poe again, or something that they really are hoping to eke out there. It's nice to get Han early, but some of that control on the board needs to happen this game. Otherwise, I think it might slip away. To spending all 3 resources just to get a little bit ahead might be just a little too slow.
Right, that Poe was so impactful last game. I feel like Wrecker would be devastating this game as well, just because you're going to get that situation where you can take out the Fighters for Freedom, and be able to get a 7/6 body on the board. But deciding to flip Han first. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wondering where things are going. The Fighters for Freedom is really, when you are in this type of matchup, Fighters for Freedom, that one ping can take you down. I mean, you're pinging with your leader and pinging with a person whenever you play a card. Hopefully, you're playing all aggression. Yep. It just wears you away, even if you're exhausting or keeping fairly good control of the board.
Yeah. So speaking of flip turns here, we saw Han. Now we see Sabine hitting the board here, but I feel like Raynous has some choices to make. Right? You could take out the Han Solo leader. You could take out the Cassian Andor as well. What's it going to be here? It looks like Andor attacking into Fighters for Freedom. That decision is made for Raynous.
There we go.
So what's the plan? Is it going to be... Oh, okay. Wing leader. Nice. Okay. All right. Yeah. Making that Sabine a bit more durable.
Yeah. 4/7 feels very good.
Do you run Dark Sabers in your Sabine Cunning? I'm just curious.
I do not in my Sabine Cunning. I've seen it to great effect obviously in Sabine Green, but and personally in Cunning, I'm not going to spend 4 resources on it that round. I'd rather play something like K2SO, or maybe even sideboard into something like Kira,
fair enough.
if needed.
Fair enough. I like this by Raynous, by the way, saying, you know what, I'm the beatdown. I'm the one who's going to be attacking the base. You're the one who has to worry about clearing the board, and kind of really recognizing that he is the aggressor in this matchup. A lot of times you can still, even if you've played a million games of Sabine, when you see those big threats hit the board, your mind is going to go, I need to take care of these threats right now or I'm dead. But in reality, you're more dead if you never establish a board, if you never do damage to their base. So I appreciate that Raynous really understands that he needs to just reach for every single point of damage possible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think the bringing the Marauder in probably feels good, but taking out just a wing leader, maybe not as much on that side of things, because the wing leader's already done its job. Sabine is now at 4/7, and that's a dangerous place to be. But Wrecker, that's thankful for that wing leader just for a second there, I guess.
Yeah, 5 damage, and it looks like that was ECL'd as well. So the Wrecker looks like I don't think he did do the 5 damage. I think he just ran into it with the Wrecker. Oh no, I think he or did he do? Oh, interesting, huh? Yeah, I don't believe he spent the resource to do the 5 damage. Now you do see some people doing that, even if it is Wrecker running into the target, because then you get the overwhelm. But yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I think he did not destroy the resource.
Yeah.
It looks like Tbird might be heading in the direction of reaching for that crate dragon, which, hey, if that's the game plan, that's not a bad one there.
I think you're right, yeah.
And so that's kind of the decision you have to make right when you play Wrecker is, hey, how long is this game going to go? It looks like he's, strapping in for the long haul and just hoping to keep control of Sabine until it's too late.
Yeah, so Raynous right now down to 24. Remember, Raynous is counting down on his dice.
Yes.
I don't like being too critical of our players. They're Discord members. They're putting themselves out there by playing this, but I don't know. People that count down in Star Wars Unlimited, the game's made to count up. The game's made to count up. There's cards that say, hey, if you've got this much damage on your base, implying that we should be counting up. So all I gotta say is, Raynous, you seem like a very good Sabine player, but you got to learn to count up on your base, man. Just my opinion.
Oh, man. All right, good call. Taking out the Green Squadron right away.
I think so, too.
Oh, a Wrecker of their own.
All right, yeah. So Wrecker handles Wrecker. There was a little bit of damage on that other one from the ambush. And so now the 7/6 established for Raynous here. Can Tbird keep the pressure on?
Yeah. With 7 resources out there, this will be interesting.
Oh, Han
Han
activation.
ability.
Yeah, I would assume. And
Oh,
modded cohort. So, uh,
interesting.
yeah. So I think that was just a modded cohort thrown in there. No, it was a Han ability. He did use that. Yeah, pay the 3 for the modded
Okay.
cohort. Yep.
Yeah, might as well.
Another one of the best cards in set 2, in my opinion. I love that card.
Oh, I'd agree. And it's
Yeah.
perfect in this deck with Han. If you're gonna, run into something that's gonna take you out anyway, it doesn't matter if that damage is on there. It's just a nice discount.
Yeah. And so the board is clear on the ground. And that's actually great for Tbird because he's established himself a lot in the air. Now that Marauder is actually protected a little bit behind the Bright Hope. And so that's also not only a Sentinel in the air, but it's 6 damage in the air coming Raynous' way every turn now.
15 damage is feeling a little dangerous, but if he can, keep control of all the stuff on the ground, and now with the Sentinel in the air, I think T-Bird's sitting in a very good spot going into his 8 resource turn.
Right, especially if that Crate Dragon gets played this turn. I feel like that's what this is all leading up to, right? We know that if the Chopper hadn't swung in, he would have drawn a Crate Dragon last game. I don't know if he saw any other ones in his hand, but this turn maybe the chance. But there's a sneak attack. Is it K2SO time? It is.
There he is.
Yeah, that can add up to a lot of damage on base.
Yeah, the modded cohort's a perfect answer for K2SO, but we just saw that one go away. I'm not sure how many are in the deck, but that is a little nerve-wracking, I'm sure.
Yeah. So what is the answer going to be here? All right, Han activation. And just spending 3. So it's a 4-drop, another modded cohort. He had another one. Wow. Okay. So that's actually huge, right? Because Raynous is still going to do the 3 damage to base when K2SO dies. There it is. But he does lose out on the 4 damage that K2SO would have done because of coming in ready via the sneak attack. So nice heads up play by Tbird just to save a little bit of HP.
Yeah, perfect play. That's exactly what you want the modded cohorts for.
Right.
Some of those sneak attacks. But this is, okay, Fleet Lieutenant. That could have been game right there, right? Potentially.
Yeah, you're right. It would have been 6 damage coming through, plus another 3. That would have been 9 on base with 15 HP remaining. So that would have been very close. Very close.
Very close. I guess
well,
the first action next round is Sabine ability, and you call it a day.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Sabine will do it right there. It's going to be Cassian Andor, it looks like, coming in from the resources smuggled in and then attacking into that Fleet Lieutenant. And when you see the Fleet Lieutenants come down without anything to buff, then you know the aggressive player's in trouble. It's still a 3/3, but yeah, you want that activation. So a little bit worried about Raynous here.
Exactly. You're holding on to them as more of an event to play during your turn, and it's not really the guy that you want on the field by himself.
Yeah. I guess I say I am worried about Raynous, but there's a Cassian Andor. It's 19 damage on Tbird's base, only 6 HP remaining. That Andor can take away 3 of it. Sabine can take away another one. Really Tbird needs to answer this.
A surprise strike could take it, correct? Yes. Really, Tbird needs maybe a Sentinel on the ground or timely intervention, another Sundari Peacekeeper, just to stay out of range.
Yeah, a heroic sacrifice wouldn't be quite enough, but a surprise strike would. Doesn't have enough resources for it, unfortunately. Oh, and even more unfortunately, Wrecker comes down and just removes that Cassian Andor. And Raynous just playing from hand now. What's he going to do? There's going to be he's wondering. All right. Yeah, I think you have to do it. I think you have to use Sabine here. All right. 20 damage on Tbird's base.
Oh.
This one's tense.
This one's very tense. I'm sweating over here just watching.
And you're in Minnesota, so that says a lot.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And most of the resources spent on Wrecker, which is not a bad place to be, having the Wrecker on field, but not a lot of room for answers in case Sabine can do anything here.
With these attacks coming down, 4 HP remain for Raynous. 4 HP for Raynous, 5 HP for Tbird. And remember, if Tbird manages to win this one, then that's going to send us to a game 3. It looks like the players are packing up. Yeah, too many units on Tbird's side of the board. So we are indeed going to a game 3. Here we are. Game number 3, Xander, between our reigning champion Tbird. He's won 2 weeks in a row, going for a third, but it's going down to the wire against our challenger Raynous here, playing the Sabine Cunning. And Tbird, he played the Luke Command the first 2 weeks, did great, going to a more meta call this time with the Han ECL, but I feel like this Sabine Cunning is just really pushing him to his limit.
Oh, yeah. Sabine is getting out there, and any unit on board is a threat at this point. And I think Tbird recognized that after game one, that leaving any person out there was going to be a problem, especially with some of the reach that Sabine Cunning has. And so, I look forward to seeing what they can do here in the
Wow.
third game. Ooh,
That's a third
Leia
game in a
again.
row. Third game in a
I
row
was
he's
gonna
done
say,
Leia turn 1. Yeah.
let's hope
Oh.
for another one drop for Raynous then, because that's really what you need. And there's Chopper.
Oh, okay. So third game in a row that we've got a Cassian Andor turn 1 for Tbird, but Raynous crucially, like you mentioned, getting that 1 drop out there too. Chopper as well. Now in game 1, Chopper made Tbird discard a Crate Dragon off the top of his deck. I think that ended up hurting a little bit. That was the game that Raynous won. So we'll see if he can replicate it. This time though, with Tbird having the initiative, I would imagine that Andor is going to go into the Chopper. Will he decide differently after losing the Crate Dragon in game 1?
I'd have to assume he goes right for the Chopper,
We'll
but that's
see.
such a nice play for Raynous having both of the options out there, because that's just going to make
There
it
we
so
go.
much harder to get the board. There it is, and casting's still there.
Yeah, I mean, and what that does is you know, obviously it sets it up for Leia could take out the Andor if she wants to, but no, damage on base is what Raynous is concerned about. But I do find it a little bit amusing that Tbird's like, okay, yeah, I should probably kill the Chopper. It's less damage on base, but man, it's that discard just hurts.
Oh yeah, immediately recognize the mistakes from game one. Sign of a good player there is seeing what went wrong the first couple and adjusting for the final game.
Yeah, exactly. Don't end up playing against a lot of choppers in Star Wars Unlimited right now, so it takes a minute sometimes.
Absolutely.
All right, A
Green
Wing.
Squadron A-Wing in space. One of my favorite cards so far in year one. Honestly, probably a top 5 card for me. It's Green Squadron.
Oh yeah, it's just you can't get really much better with a turn 1 play than a 3/3 when the raid kicks in, right? It always feels bad when somebody attacks into it, you know, with their Green Squadron A-Wing, and you're like, oh, I only did 1 damage to their unit. But still, it feels so good to play. It also feels good to flip your leader this early. Han Solo hitting the board for Tbird getting deployed there, and another Sabine activation, followed soon by a deployment, I would imagine, for Raynous here. But what's this going to be for Tbird? Going for the attack first, thinking about playing something, but deciding to attack in first.
Looks like waiting to see what Raynous might be able to bring out, or if they bring out their leader, maybe having an answer there too for that.
Yeah. Okay. What'll it be for Raynous now? Because he's thinking, okay, so if I flip Sabine, you know, is this the turn where Poe just flies in and takes her out, right? Because the well, actually, I guess that wouldn't happen because there's no oh, there is ECL on that side. What am I talking about? So he plays the Leia instead. Yeah, just trying to delay a little bit.
Yeah, that's Sabine is less of a threat in the decks with Cunning or that don't run Darksaber at all. So it's not as huge of a deal to take out Sabine right away. But I think Tbird's really, really working on controlling the board just as much as last game. And so I think that's Raynous has recognized that and is playing accordingly.
Yeah, so he is going to go ahead and play the Poe. Not going to use ECL this time, though, since wouldn't be great to attack into Leia. I guess you could discard a card and do 2 damage to her and, you know, prevent Poe from taking damage and take it out. But I think it's better to just save that card and just drop a 6/6 on the board that Raynous is going to have to deal with. And he doesn't even flip Sabine. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And crucially, Tbird kept Energy Conversion Lab active for Wrecker, potentially coming in when Sabine flips. So that could be a good answer there.
It's 2 more damage on base. I mean, I think that's what you got to do, right? You got to just keep hitting that base. Up to 10 now. 15 remaining. 24 HP. So plenty to work with on the Raynous side. Make that, yeah, still 24, but he loses a unit.
Agree with the Green Squadron.
Yeah. And now just kind of saying, all right, I would prefer that you attack me with your Poe so I can flip my Sabine and not have to worry about her dying immediately. Want to do more damage to base here. So how does Tbird get the board state in a way that he can still take out Sabine? And you know what? I'm not opposed to this answer at all. Just say, guess what? This is 6 damage. I'm just going to send it in there. Looks like it's going to be 17 damage on base now. 1 more from the Sabine activation. What'll Tbird play now? Oh, initiative. Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
Huh.
4 resources. All right.
Yeah, sneak attack.
Sneak attack.
Oh, the sneak attack Poe. Wow. All right. That is massive actually, because that is going to do a minimum take Tbird up to 20 damage on his base. Will Raynous maybe discard a card to pump it a little bit more? And he's got Sabine.
Yeah,
Oh my. That is
that's a lot.
11 damage potentially coming in. Will he
And that'll
discard? Yeah,
be
he will. Yeah.
game with 11 damage, I believe, correct?
Well,
14
it
and
was 14 plus 11. I think you're right. I think that is just it.
oh wow.
Insane. Wow. Great play from Raynous. Gets a sneak attack with the Poe. Green Squadron A-Wing in there as well. Point to the units. I think they're adding up the damage. I think they're talking about what we're talking about. And they're the cards being cleaned up. Shows the K2SO in hand. And another sneak attack. Raynous had this
Oh,
one in spades. But he is our new champion, dethroning Tbird after 2 weeks on top with some really kind of incredible Sabine Cunning play.
yes, Raynous, congratulations. That was incredible plays. Holding on to Sabine just for the right moment, biding your time with those actions until they grabbed the initiative because they knew they had to answer whatever you had coming. But the sneak attack Poe felt great, I'm sure, there. It's Poe being able to swing for 8 damage himself, bringing out Sabine for 3 more for the perfect number. You had that mouth calculated very early.
Yeah.
I can tell there on that side.
Wow, I'm gonna go back to our beautiful faces here, but wow, what a series! I mean, and that just goes to show that a lot of people are saying, oh, Sabine Cunning just not as good anymore. If you ask a lot of people, I think in set two, what deck was better, Han2 ECL or Sabine Cunning? A lot of people would be like, well, Han2 ECL, of course, you get Crate Dragon, but a lot of people forgetting, that Sabine Cunning can just pump out a ton of damage with really it's the events I think that add on to what the characters can already do. And stuff like sneak attack is just so devastating, and it's one of the reasons I loved playing it in set one. Like I said, it was the deck I played all of set one. You said it's one of a few decks you still have sleeved up, and going forward into set three too. I mean, I think Sabine Cunning, despite a lot of shiny new toys to play with, if you're looking for a really solid deck to just play into whatever, that's a deck that's always just going to be able to get over the finish line some games.
Oh, absolutely. I think Sabine Cunning is a really cool one, especially if you're a newcomer to the game. Yes, piloting takes you a long ways, but it's also an easy deck to pick up and make trades for your locals. Besides Poe and a couple other pieces like that, some of the Rebel cards themselves have great synergy and are pretty easy to find overall. And so I think Sabine Cunning is one of my favorite decks to see, and I'm looking forward to see what they can do with some new toys coming up with set three. But the Han Green there, that was great games played. I was hoping to see a Crate Dragon. I know we all were when you see 3 in the deck list, but great answers and great learning experience going into game 3. You could tell taking out Chopper immediately and going in that direction, but just sneak attacks will get you sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to be fair, we did see one Crate Dragon in those games. It just ended up being something that was discarded instead of actually played. So it was there.
Absolutely.
It was there.
Yeah,
But
it was there. You got to see it on board.
we saw it.
Or
We saw it.
yeah.
That's right. What an awesome series of games that was. It was really, really tight. Shout out to Tbird again for being our two-time champion, finally falling to Raynous, our new conqueror of the cave here at Ice Cave Radio. And I just love that as time goes on, we're getting to see the level of game, I think, level up and conquer the cave. We've got so many talented players in our Discord. So I'll just say really quick, if you're not in the Discord yet, icecaveradio.com, there's a Discord link there. Sign up. There's a sign up sheet in the channel for Conquer the Cave. You can find it on the sidebar. Sign up, and we'll just keep going through people and see who can hold on to the throne or hold on to the cave, I guess, the longest. But thanks again so much, Xander, for joining us. Any parting words about the game, about the games we saw, about the game in general? Anything you want to say before we close this thing out?
To the Tbird and Raynous, great games. Those were so fun to watch. I think you both ran the decks the exact way that you want to going into those games. Maybe draws didn't happen exactly the way you wanted to, but seeing, the skill that you all had with both of those decks and both of those leaders specifically, I was really impressed, and it made me want to go back and revisit Han from set 2 as well, and really break my Sabine deck back out and dust it off real quick. But to players, worldwide and just all listeners and those in the cave, thank you all so much for your support so far with this game. I know we are getting close to the launch of set 3. We internally are so excited for it. We've got, the Galactics and things on the horizon, but we're 3 sets in. It's almost a full year of sets of year. Ugh, yeah, full year sets.
I
That's
get
the
what you're
words.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got
And
done
I know
with
that
a
you all
full work day today, so your brain is already kind
I
of
I am. I was just on the
yeah.
stream, yeah, too. It's been a lot.
Xander is doing
But
this out of the goodness of his heart after a full day of work already. So, my brain
I'm
would be
trying.
scrambled.
But no, it's been such a great journey with you all so far in this first year. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you all think of everything in year two, with Jump to Lightspeed coming out in March.
Yeah, lots of exciting stuff to look forward to. I can't wait to get in with the pre-releases. I took my pre-release kit and I built the deck out of it. We did a video with that. I ended up on Mace Windu Command, and I'm gonna sleeve it up and bring it along to my pre-release because after my actual games there, I'm gonna be like, hey, can we just play a friendly with this one? I got to see how it does. But
Yeah,
that and then building decks. I've got like a Nala Se deck planned. I've got Padme deck planned. I've got like working on Palpatine. There's so much stuff to look forward to. But that's it for this edition of Conquer the Cave anyway. Just a last little bit of fun here in set number 2. I'm not sure if we're going to get another. I think we're going to get maybe one more set 2 match in before set 3 stuff starts. No promises there. We're going to try to. But either way, thanks everybody for watching. Like, subscribe, blah, 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 all that stuff. Join the Discord more than anything because we've got such a great Discord, such a great community going, and we want you in it if you're not already. But thanks for watching. Thanks to the players for playing great games. Thanks again to Xander from Fantasy Flight Games for stepping in and doing some guest casting for us this week while Charmer's on vacation. And yeah, that's it. So thanks again, everybody. See you next time.